Okay, Mark, I noticed when you started the saw, you used a leg lock type technique.
That is one of the recommended techniques for safe starting a saw. There are basically two, and the most basic is starting on the ground. And when you start a saw on the ground, with the switch on, you'll have your chain brake on, you'll have your wrist straight and locked, you'll have your thumb fully encircling the front handle. Then either have your foot in the rear handle, or sometimes you may want to put your knee on the rear handle and give the saw a sharp pull. After you feel the pulls of the starter engage, give it a sharp pull to start the saw. The other method I showed earlier was the leg lock method, and again it's very similar in technique as the ground start. First of all, I want to make sure I have 2 points of contact on the saw, just as I did when I started it on the ground. In this case, I'm going to lock the rear handle behind my right knee. Again, my left wrist will be straight, my thumb fully encircling. I have a very good grip on the front handle. My chain brake will be on. And if this was a cold saw that hadn't been started yet, the procedure would be to pull the choke out and pull the saw until I heard it pop, till it fired briefly. Then, when I heard it pop, I would push the choke in. Now, in this particular saw, the high idle is integrated into the choke system, so the high idle is locked right now. When the saw starts, I want to make sure that I then go back and release that saw to idle so that it is not working against the chain brake. Once the saw is at idle, I can go about my work, release the chain brake, and go to work.
Great. Now, Mark, I noticed you pushed this little blue button on the side of the saw here. Is that a decompression button?
Exactly. This saw is equipped with a decompression valve that is mounted on the side of the saw so it stays out of the combustion chamber. And by simply depressing that, it makes the saw much easier to pull, and it reduces the wear and tear on the operator, makes the saw easier to start, and it also reduces wear and tear on the starter system.
I know that's a great invention there for the saws, because I remember a number of years ago when using big old saws, felt like I was going to pull my shoulder out of my socket. So that's very important to know these good safe starting techniques. And I'm out in the field, I see a number of guys using what a drop start almost, where they need to have their finger on the trigger, you know, to be giving the saw gas just to get it started. I would imagine, you know, it's very important. I see you start with the chain brake, whereas most of them don't. It's very important to make sure that the carburetor is properly adjusted, isn't it?
Carburetor is very important to have that starting procedure correct, and that should be done when you start the saw. To do these checks and the starting, you want to make sure that the saw feels the same, sounds good, and that the carburetor is running well. Otherwise, you may have to do some carburetor adjustment in the field.